What's up, AI nerds? Fast Hours Podcast, episode 73. Rory Flynn, Drew Brucker, and we have a special guest today. I would even go as far as to say Twitter X legend. Salma Aboukar is with us today, creative director and founder. We're excited that she's here with us today. I think this has been a little bit of a planning for us to get you on here. Super excited to get your insights across the board. And I think anybody listening to this is going to get a ton of value out of it. So really excited for this one. But Salma, why don't you do us a favor? Give us a quick intro about who you are, what you're doing, so the listeners can get a little bit of perspective for today.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Salma Aboukar. I am the creative director and founder of Create, working with brands mainly on projects. So whether it's ads, video ads, things like that. I've been doing this for the past 2.5, 3 years now. Worked with like major brands like Coca-Cola, Svedka, and also like Google Labs as well, and Panasonic. So I'm really, really excited to kind of like talk about AI.
Isn't it amazing the brands that you've been able to work with just from putting yourself out there? I think that's collectively in, everyone here. We've worked with some clients that I think in some logos we're just like, wow, like looking back on it, that's pretty awesome considering we were just sort of being curious and being creative, and we were able to leverage it, in a different way. And I would love to catch up too on what were you doing before this? Like, what is your background, Rory? I feel like that's typically a Rory question, but I'm gonna steal Rory's question for this.
Jump right in.
Give us a little bit of background as to what you were doing prior to AI, and maybe even like your inflection moment, your Rubicon moment that sort of changed things for you in terms of maybe your pivot in your career or sort of like the blue ocean of what's possible for you.
Yeah, so I was actually running Crates as an agency. So we were doing projects with brands using all CGI, so Blender, 3ds Max, creating these beautiful environment scenes and putting products in there. So it was mainly like an agency which was driven using CGI at the time. And what was interesting was when Midjourney first came out with their like really terrible model, I think it was version 3, I realized, maybe we can start using AI to generate at least the backgrounds and the backdrops. And that's when I really started taking AI seriously and started like experimenting and putting out my findings on X. And really that's where it started. Like I thought, okay, if AI gets better, then it's going to really change how we do things. And to the point where we started actually building our own tools around AI to better execute on these projects. I was still using 3D right up until I'd say last year. And then when, the video models got really good, then like right now we use 100% AI for everything. So that was the moment, like when the image models got better, we started doing workflows with Stable Diffusion, using backdrops from Midjourney, putting products in with 3D. And then once the videos got better, we kind of like pivoted and started doing video ads as well.
Because that was definitely one of the first things that caught my eye when I think probably when I just joined X. You were one of the only people I saw at the time that was doing direct to consumer stuff. And that's, my background also from the e-com space. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This is right up my alley. And then I started digging in. So you were building your own product at the time. And it looked like, I was like, this, like, whoever this is, they get it, because they understood that it was like, oh, we need to put a product in a location, and then we need to do that across like all these different types of, like basically a whole photo shoot with it. You were one of the first people that I saw, and you were trying to, at that time, it looked like you were blending 3D and AI together, and that was early. Like, it's not as easy as it is now. Like that was, it's like, how are you doing that? I remember just looking at it being like, this is directionally exactly where this needs to go. But like, how did, like, from that project, I'm just curious. I'm sure people would love to know, like, back then a little bit what it was like, the challenges, the struggles around building something like that.
Yeah, I mean, so what really inspired it was like, I've been working with brands for a few years at the time, and one thing with AI is lots of D2C brands, don't have the appetite for things hallucinating to the labels and the logos. So I thought, okay, well, why don't we kind of have a hybrid model? So we were actually creating 3D models by hand at the time, and then importing them into a AI scene, and then using clever techniques to match the shadows and everything else. But the idea was to keep the product fidelity, the logo, and everything else. So that's like how we kind of approached AI, which kind of, in hindsight, it made sense, but also it wasn't scalable because we were doing things in an interesting way with 3D, and 3D took a really long time. Whereas now that we have like different models, 3D, like rodent models, that get like the actual products right, there's still issues with the labels. So we still kind of have our own internal tools to kind of fix the labels and last 20%.
Because it was, I remember looking at it. There was like it was like almost like the model for what Photoshop eventually did, which was like, let's create like, here's item, turn item to 3D, like readjust lighting. Like that was sort of like what Photoshop tried to do. I don't know if that really took off because that product was kind of meh. But like, I saw the vision, and the vision was correct. And I think that's where a lot of, I think it's just like everyone was striving for this product stuff, and it didn't come along until we could really have. I think it was the higher resolution that we needed for smaller text because it just didn't have enough pixels to work with. But I remember like it was I immediately contacted you on X. I was like, what is this? I need to know what this is. But you've also been a Midjourney OG, like back probably one of the first people I think I found on X. There wasn't, at the time it was a little bit different, but so you were using it version 3, or you started really like pumping it version 4?
Started pumping it version 4 and then version 5. Version 3 was like kind of like testing to see, this is even a thing. But yeah, it was really version 4 and 5. And I would generate the backdrops first, and then kind of like add products, style it, and then render it.
I remember you were doing a lot. I feel like it was like skincare. That was what caught my eye.
Yeah.
Because you were doing really great work early on with like skin texture too, and like not just focusing on like here's AI model. It was like it felt like it was conscious of how the skin should look, eyebrows, things like that.
Yeah. What's interesting then was I remember stability. They had that model, Stable Diffusion, and you had to download it locally with automatic one, or was it 111 automatic thing that you download, and creating a whole workflow to kind of get the skin texture, the eyebrows, and everything look incredible. And this was shortly before Magnetic came out with their upscaler. But that was one of the tricks that I was using for my clients to kind of get everything to look really real. And the workflow was generate images on Midjourney. Midjourney at the time had like very like plastic skin. So what I would do is upscale it with Stable Diffusion, have a workflow, and then kind of like color correct, adjust, make it look very realistic. But now, especially with the latest model on Midjourney, you can get the skin texture and the hair texture and everything beautiful just by prompting.
Really liking the skin texture right now. We're getting there. I mean, it's pretty damn good. I mean, isn't it funny though, looking back on it, all the workarounds that we had to duct tape together to get things to the desired outcome that we were looking for at the time. The one example still cracks me up. Rory, remember when you were doing the character consistency with multiple characters inside of Midjourney, and this was like V5, and there was this whole workaround that was just so unnecessary to get to that point, but you had to do that to get anywhere close to it. And you did a whole breakdown on it, and it was just like, oh my God, like this is awesome, but this sucks.
Just wait.
It sucks that we have to do this.
Yeah.
Just wait 6 months, it'll be out. Somebody can do this. Do you have a background in skincare or like cosmetics or anything like that?
Yeah. When I was running like as an agency, I mean, we didn't do like actual like model faces, but we used to do hand textures and create 3D out of that. And it was, I mean, the workaround with AI and how you duct tape it, like the 3D version was way worse. Like it would take me weeks just to kind of get a hand to look somewhat human. So yeah, I worked with a lot of like skincare, cosmetics, CPG, drink brands, sweet brands, and packaging mainly. And it was more like, for their websites, social media, ads, things like that. So when AI like came around, it was, I was on it. Like I was like, okay, if we can kind of like get rid of the 3D component, that would be awesome. And now we can. We don't need to use 3D as much and as often.
Because
Love this.
I would say, the reason I ask is because I look at a lot of times like the composition and the art direction of what you're doing, and I'm like, this mimics, I feel like, a photography brief from what you'd get from a cosmetics brand, like like that type of shot, that type of cropping, framing, the angle, like the lighting, things like that. It felt like it was very technically sound, not just like skincare ad, enter. It felt like there was a lot of detail behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what drove me like to. There's more behind the scenes. Like there's definitely more behind the scenes, and there's more going on. Because I think that was probably like, how did you like sort of come across the control aspect of Midjourney back then? Like, what were you doing to sort of like control your vision?
A lot of reference images, a lot of like describe feature. Also had like a prompt system going, whereas I think it was something like subject, detail, composition, background, lighting. So it was a lot of that and a lot of experimenting. And then also sometimes what I would do is I would use other local models to kind of generate some of the models and then kind of like bring it into Midjourney and then improve it on Midjourney and then bring it back into like stability and then improve the skin. So there's a lot of back and forth of different models. But to be fair, like when it comes to the art direction and just the creative feel, I feel like Midjourney has a level of aesthetic that you can't really get from other models. Even like now, like with Nano Banana and stuff, like I'm not sure what, like, you know what I mean? Like the models kind of look the same. Unless you like distinctively ask for certain features. And one of the tricks I actually use sometimes, right now not as much, but before Midjourney version, this latest version, I think it's the 8.2. What I would do is I would actually kind of like use ChatGPT, bring in an image of a model with like very distinctive features. So like maybe a gap teeth, certain look.
Yeah, like a signature. Like there are these small signature pieces that aren't just everyday things.
Exactly right. And then what I would do is then I would take it to Nano Banana and recreate that image. And then little trick I'd use is I'd add like a little bit of maybe a tattoo or an imperfection to make it look, real or like stylish.
Yep.
Look at the skin on that one. Like that one to me again, like just there's thought behind this stuff. Like I feel.
I mean, I just love even the little ring here, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so real.
Yeah. I think with that one, I actually used Nano Banana. And again, like the work before that was I brainstormed it with Claude. And again, like picking up on the particles. So this was really a particle type shot. So it's picking up on the particles. How would the particles look like on the skin? So the little details that come in on the skin. And then now here, like as well, the little particles. These are the little things that I kind of like to capture.
Those are the things that make the great images different from the good ones. There's the intentionality of that extra layer, right? Like the fact that you thought about that, and it's visibly distinct here. It's not maybe the main focal point. It's a supporting element that if you're looking at this longer than a second or two, you can actually appreciate it even more. Right. And I think this is really cool. And I do notice that with your stuff in general, too. I think that's a really good call out. Are you, maybe give us a rundown on the tools that are currently in your stack right now? I feel like everybody always wants to kind of see what people are using and maybe even the why or how you think about using each one. Like, does Midjourney serve a certain purpose for you versus something else, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. Right now, I have a bunch of skills on Claude. So what I like to do is create skills on certain things, skin texture, models with distinct features. I also do a lot of videos as well. And then Midjourney is purely used as like a creative stylist. It's just for aesthetics, finding new styles. And then the other models I use it as an editing. So Nano Banana as an editing model. And then so if I start from the top, what I would do is I'll brief with Claude using my skills. then I'd get my prompts, and then I'd throw it into Midjourney, and then download it, edit it on Nano Banana, and then kind of like clean it up, upscale if needed as well.
It's a wonderful wonder. The thing I love about with Claude that everyone has, like, everyone's got like these like little micro skills that they use for like these little things they do, but like that probably makes the whole difference, is like having a skin texture skill. It's like
Yeah.
all the difference. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't taking it that far, and everyone who's listening, this is what a professional sounds like. This is the level of detail that you have to go into on certain things to like make this stand out from just like skincare ad enter. You know, skills for, you know, skincare, for skin textures, skills for you know, model selection and unique features. Like, it's probably the best way. Do you find it when you're doing this, do you find it better to have like these isolated skills, like in these certain little specializations, or just like have like model generation as like a skill itself? Like, there's no right or wrong answer to me. I'm just curious how you're finding it.
I actually separate them just so that I can keep track. And then the other thing that I've been experimenting with recently, which could be valuable, is, you know, with so many models coming out, you know, how do you easily test the model? So I created another like skill that kind of evaluates each model. So that skill, basically, whenever there's a new model, we just run it through all the models and see like which areas it's weak, which areas, you know, improved on. And that I use it mainly for the videos, because as you can imagine, Seedance is amazing model. But there are some areas like VO3 is still kind of good at. But for the most part, I would say Seedance is like really, really, really good model. So I have that skill to just kind of evaluate any new models that come out, any new image models or video models as well.
Is that something you're running through like an MCP? Are you using that in like FAL, or are you just doing it manually?
I run it through FAL.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good one. If anyone's not familiar with FAL or what it is, it's just like an API aggregator. But if you have Claude, you can tap into the MCP and basically just tell Claude to run this in Seedance, and it'll hit the API, come back and run it directly in your chat. So if you're looking for something that you pay per play, you don't have to pay for a subscription to it. You just pay per API hit. It's a great option for anyone who's looking out there. Just gonna caveat with that. But the other thing I definitely wanted to ask you about was on the video side too. Like, to me, I hate the video upscalers. Like, they take everything that's good up to me about a video and make it worse. Like, all of them smooth everything out. For someone who's doing skin texture, I'm sure this has to like piss you off a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It makes everything look so sharp and like just unrealistic. Yeah. One thing I do is I actually generate the videos, sometimes in 4K, but other times just 1080, and then color correct. The key is all in the color correction, and the contrast. And I find that works way better than upscaling videos, because otherwise it just looks so artificial.
It's really annoying that's the case. It's like, oh, we can add more definition in everything but skin. It's like, it seems like it adds definition to just about everything else, but it does make the edges become so obviously AI. Like you said, too sharp, too much contrast. And then like for someone who's doing skincare, I'm sure it's just like, to me, that would drive me nuts. I would go absolutely insane. But are you finding any of them? Have you tried any of the other ones, like the open source upscalers for video? Like, I forget what the other one people are using through Comfy.
Is it the LTX? I think LTX is doing some incredible stuff as well. I try to avoid any video upscalers for those reasons. I mean, we just use Premiere Pro to just like color correct and adjust things. I find that to work really, really well. And then clever editing. I think also the editing, you know, does a little bit of the heavy lifting when it comes to that. So yeah, like I don't use any upscalers, but before Seedance and before these models, and when I was working on another campaign late last year, we had to create like these workflows around certain things, which wasn't skin related. It was more related to like animals, texture, things like that. And it was a little bit easier to work with. But you know, again, like we did upscale a few so with one of the ads I worked on, which was the Coca-Cola ad, we had to upscale the trucks, and as you can imagine, it adds a level of sharpness. But then we edited it and adjusted the colors to make it look nice and more photorealistic. But I do feel like with these newer models, the output will probably be much stronger.
This is also a reminder for everyone: color correct your AI videos. Like, just do something with it, because you see it, even just the slightest adjustments make a big difference.
It's a nice artistic touch. Like that's another one of those things that's super available and accessible that can really make a big difference in a big way. I've been thinking about that a lot more too. Like I used to do that a lot from the still side. But now some of the color grading that's baked in has gotten so good. Maybe you don't have to do it all the time, but there's still an opportunity there. Like I almost think about it from the sense of, depending on the type of project or work that you're working on, almost the photographer approach of post edit of a photo, right? Like thinking about, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Lightroom, but thinking about adding linear gradients in certain spots, dodging and burning, luminance adjustments, right? To just refine the image. I mean, there's an opportunity there to even layer on and polish images up, versus just taking exactly what you got out of the model and then rolling with it, right? Like, I think that's sort of what separates, I think, this idea of, anybody can create anything, and versus like this artistic mindset of, okay, now I've developed the raw material, like that core raw material of what I'm going to use, and now I'm going to layer on top of it. And that doesn't have to be just stills, right? But I think it's like that mindset of finding ways to tweak it even further, to make it even a little bit more yours, right? And differentiate it from the space. Because, granted, assuming everybody in this room is a great prompter, right? What's stopping you guys from creating the exact same thing as me? Just the idea, the concept that I landed on. But assuming you saw that and you wanted to use it, you could generate the same thing. So I think like those additional layers and editing and adjustments, even the application of it, can kind of set the stage for the final outcome. But that's super interesting. I also want to touch base on, Salma, you had like at least two really big moments that I know of, probably more, on X. I mean, you've been on there a lot. I think you got like 50K followers. So, I mean, you've been doing your thing regardless. But a couple things that stand out to me. You probably, if you're listening to this, you probably, almost guaranteed actually, have seen the whole IKEA explosion video that went viral, because that was, you got picked up, I think, nationally for stuff like that, right? Like there were, tell us about that. I would love to hear. This is going to be a little bit of a loaded question, so I want you to take your time with this, but I'm thinking like, take us through, one, how you came up with that concept, because before that, I don't know if I saw that concept in the video medium at that point. Like it was a novel thing that I saw, number one. So I would love like that concept ideation, or what gave you inspiration to come up with that. And then two, I would love to like hear your perspective as something went so viral. What were the good parts about that, and what were the bad parts about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it was last year summer, and I was seeing like a lot of people posting about VO3. I think, sorry, VO's at VO2, VO3. So VO3 just came out, and I was seeing all these posts, and I was thinking, what would be interesting to do something that is, some new idea. And I was just like researching and checking out some stuff, and I saw a box. I think it was an Amazon box. It was flown in the air, and it was transforming into like a shoe, and then it transformed into like a top, something like that. So then I thought, why don't I kind of like do something for furniture? What if we have like a IKEA box in the middle of a room, and then it kind of expand? So I started prompting, and the first few videos I got were really bad. They did look nothing like what you're seeing here. And then I was thinking, can we push this model like far? Like how far can we push this model? So then I started using like really detailed prompts to kind of get it. And it would get some things, but it wouldn't get everything. And then I thought, what? I saw something about JSON, but I couldn't understand what it was at the time. So then I just gave it like I think the LLM I was using was probably ChatGPT. I gave it my prompt, and I just said, convert this detailed prompt into JSON. I want to make sure I have control over, how the box explode. It needs to be seamless. We need to make sure like certain elements, like for example, the throw comes in last. So kind of like had timestamps within it as well. And then it came up with this long JSON prompt, and I threw it in there, and honestly, it came up with such an amazing video. And I thought, let me post it. Let me just put the prompt there as well, and just didn't really think too much about it. And then immediately, everyone started doing the exploding boxes. I think
Literally everyone.
Yeah.
Literally me included. It's one of the first ones.
I think me too. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, what can I do with this? Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing to see. And then I think like a few people wrote like articles about that. And I think it was for the first time ever, maybe, when it comes to videos, it can be used for brands, right? Like, okay, this is the video that I think made brands feel like, okay, video has some serious lag. And then I got contacted by a bunch of people, got contacted by Still Decide to work on, the Panasonic campaign, the Coca-Cola, and then also the sequel.
And did IKEA reach out to you, or did they just say,
They did. They actually reached out to me, and interestingly enough, they reached out to me, and I think at the time I was getting so many messages that by that time I already was signed on to another company.
It all comes at once. You wish you could spread it out a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And what else? And then the downside, I mean, I think the only downside that I experienced at that time was, I don't know if there was much negativity, but it was more so, just the AI doomers that were saying like, these are not like, this is not the exact furniture, or like, this isn't exactly something that is 100% usable. But apart from that, it was all round positive.
I always hated this like usable situation where it's just like, yeah, well, the unusable one got millions of impressions, and the usable one that will look distilled from this, 1,000 times and look like crap because it's all on brand. Get like 500 impressions total. You know what I mean? It's just like sometimes you gotta stir the pot a little bit. But do you get much hate still on X? I feel like it's sort of died down.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I've been a little bit strategic by not posting some things that will, completely.
Okay. Yeah.
I reserve those for LinkedIn. LinkedIn, everyone's happy.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, I get more on LinkedIn now than I do on X.
Really?
But,
wow.
But at least on LinkedIn, they gotta have their little name and profile picture attached to it. So there's some built-in accountability and reputation there. You can't just say any. I mean, some people do say anything, but and you also know it's probably a real person. So I don't know how many of these haters are real people or not. I have no idea. And everybody's hiding behind. It seems like anybody that's commenting on that is typically not someone that has their face in their profile picture. Yeah. And they've typically got less than, 100 followers, just largely speaking. So, it takes everything into consideration. Like, what are you hiding behind?
Right.
So,
It's like, I got a comment on my Figma presentation the other day. The one that they put up online, and it was about my hair, and I was like, that's a new one, because I didn't have a hat on, and they were just like really bold going up there with that hair. I was like, what the hell, man? Like, I haven't gotten this before,
Jesus.
My looks haven't been trashed, and I was like, this is weird. It's normally like, you're an idiot, you're just you're killing the environment, you suck at this, you're not a real insert X, whatever. But it was the first time, and I was like, huh. That's why I wear a hat.
Interesting. Was it on LinkedIn?
No, this was on YouTube, but I know YouTube can get a little bit crazy too. LinkedIn's, sometimes people try to get more technical, and they try to, nitpick. Like at 0.3 seconds, this is what happened. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
99% of people aren't going to see that, but I knew it was there because I tried to edit it out and just couldn't get it out. But glad you found it.
I think some of that is maybe like a insecurity ego thing. they almost want to find something that they perceive as adding value in their mind. Like, oh, you didn't talk about this or you didn't notice this, but I noticed that. And it's like, I don't know. That's some weird thing that's going on.
I mean, it's even more like, I would say, aggressive in the advertising community because, so many anti-AI traditional people on LinkedIn who have comments. But I mean, I'm seeing now everyone is like adopting because you kind of have to at this point. But it is super interesting though to see like all the different platforms, what type of hate people get.
Yeah. I have a random question for you. We were talking a lot about taste is a moat. We were kind of going back and forth on what that really means. But I think the idea of moats is interesting. Also, just maybe this idea of like things that aren't tapped into yet or that creatives aren't thinking about. Are there any like of those blue oceans, I guess, for creatives that maybe you see or would predict that would be opportunistic for people in this space, and I think that's a little bit general, but like thinking about this from like, whether you're a designer, a creative director, art director, photographer, anything creative, like, are there any areas that you think are extremely undervalued, overlooked, underleveraged right now that you've seen?
I would say like, so originality is an interesting thing that I've been thinking about because a lot of the stuff, especially with AI, it's kind of like just the same old thing recycled. And I think like if you come from a traditional background, whether it's photography, creative direction, anything like that, that is, I can see that becoming very valuable because if you pair that up, your thinking, your style with AI, that I think that is the opportunity to come up with something original. And I do feel like right now, in general, I think people have seen it all. Like, when it comes to AI, it's, before you'd put out a video or an image and the skin would look great and everyone's like, wow. But right now, like, they've seen it all. So I think originality and coming up with new ideas, I think that's going to be the biggest, I guess we can call it a moat, original concept. And also the other one is having a unique style that is kind of like strong, identifiable. Because with AI, people, as you can imagine, I'm sure you guys' content has been ripped off many a times. But if it's distinct, now, borrowed.
Yeah.
So I think like originality and then actually being intentional with your style. I think those are the two areas I see great opportunities. Because even with brands, they want to work with someone who has a unique style, who has a unique flair.
I want to, can we dig into that, Rory? I'll let you go. I just want to get into this originality thing really quick because I was at an event last night. It was an AI event here in Atlanta. I mean, they're few and far between. But I was glad to be at this one. I was speaking at this one. There was a interesting question or topic that came up. And I think I actually maybe posed it, but it was like originality, like, is AI capable of originality? And I think when you first hear that question, a lot of people think no. And I think my hot take is I think it can be original, but it's based on the idea that you just mentioned, which is if you pour your individual, unique experience, context, expertise, right, view into an LLM at a deep level, it absolutely can be original, right? Because you are original. You're pouring pieces of it, and then it can take those originality raw materials, if you will, to build new ideas or adjacent ideas. To me, that's being creative and that's being original, but it's because of the person on the other side of that. So AI alone, I don't know that can be original, but I think AI in the use of anyone, it can be if you've got the right amount of context poured into it. Would you guys agree with that? And do you have anything else that would support either direction? I'm curious of both, like your guys' view on that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with that. Like, I think AI only can do derivative things, right? But you as the original, like you as the creator who comes from, as you said, experience, context, background, if you put that into an LLM model and really like take your time with it, you'll be able to come up with something new. But yeah, I would 100% agree with that statement. 100%.
What do you think, Rory?
I'd say so. I mean, like, look, some of the things I come up with I do on Nano, I'm like, that's been done before, but like things I see on, not just to glaze Midjourney on this one, but it's like when you're bashing mood boards together and sref codes and just like, here's all these random ideas that no one ever thought about before, all this data going in, and then it spits something out. I know there's stuff in my library that has never been explored before, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like this stuff in the, like, who thinks of it? No one would think of this. It's so absurd. Like, it's so different. So I'm not saying I'm special. I'm just saying like I mashed a bunch of like crazy ideas together and hit enter. Mm-hmm. But I was also, because I'm like, well, what happens if it looks like this with this type of mood board? Black and white photo with a 2D vector, image as a style reference, and then like, black and white, but then also like vivid color, but then also, it's like, like I just want to see what it can do with all of the overloading of data that I'm giving it. So I think a lot of stuff we're not seeing a lot of original like in the marketplace. I think when you see original, you recognize it because it's so good. I think everyone's just trying to do what we've already done, but do it with AI. It's not like we haven't explored the new medium yet to its fullest.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
I think on the image side, you brought up a good point, Rory, which is like, and maybe Midjourney is the best at that, because you've got personalization, which is a huge individual wedge itself, right? There's a big difference in me using Midjourney with my personalization versus Salma versus Rory. We're going to get three different things right there already, right? Those things are already tailored. Now, do those necessarily make the image unique? No, maybe not alone, right? But it does lean into more of the things that we like. And the things that we like, there's a variable there, a spectrum of, do we like what everybody else likes, or do we like things that are very unique? So you've got that. But then to your point, you've got these other really variable levers like references, blending, mood boards, right? That I think like 10x that originality, because there are so many style codes. We could just talk about style references alone, right? Like there are billions in Midjourney alone. You couple that, you start stacking those are unique. Like those are all basically one of ones. So like from the visual asset thing, I do think Midjourney's done like a very good job of that, intentionally or otherwise, compared to others. And I think that's one of those cool things that us creatives really love about that platform still.
Miss it. I miss just bashing stuff together in there for no reason. It's like my favorite. It's my favorite tool to just like I have no creativity right now. Like it'll pull it out of me. If I'm like I've been writing system prompts all day. It's like all right, let me go in here. Like mad.
It is really intuitively great at that.
Yeah.
Like pulling, like making you feel like you're having fun. You're experimenting, and then quickly you get something that is just a slight adjacent maybe to what you were expecting, and then sometimes you go off on that tangent, right? Or again, there's no pressure. You can sort. There's so many variables that take place. It really is a nice thing for creatives, especially when you're in the ideation phase. Like you don't even know maybe exactly what you want, but maybe you have an idea of what you want.
Exactly.
I want to shift. I want to take this shift now because I think this is also interesting, right? Of going from this mindset to now, like, I'm sure Salma, you're running. Is it technically an agency? Is it your business technically an agency, or is it a little bit hybrid?
It's a little bit hybrid. So we have like the tools. We kept it internal, so we use our own tools to kind of deliver the deliverables. But at some point, we're probably gonna like open it up to everyone.
Because that's sort of like. I'm interested in the infrastructure, like sort of how you have like sort of a thought about like constructing this to develop like a new age type of agency. Because, I come from the agency world, ran an agency, was like a lot of people and a lot of different things that we did manually that now I would think about differently. But like, how are you, like, are you, so you're building internal tools. Are you doing a lot of things via automation? Is it still pretty manual? Are you, or like people building their own stuff? That that are working with you? Like I'm curious to what the infrastructure looks like with the AI tools we have now.
Yeah, so it's like internal tools for anyone who has access to it. We have a lot of different models, so like, and some of it's automated. So the way we've approached it is like we have aesthetic models. So obviously we don't have like Midjourney in there because they don't have an API, but we use things like Z Image Turbo, which in my opinion
Okay.
is Lepton, because that's actually a very
Ooh.
good, that's actually a very good aesthetic model.
Good nugget there for
Yeah.
anyone who
Tell us
hasn't
tell us
tested
more
that
about
one. Yeah.
tell us more about that. I
Yeah.
don't I've heard the name. I don't know anything beyond the name.
Yeah, I think I may have done a post on it on my X, but basically it's a I think it's open source, but it's one of the local models. And what it does is it kind of adds the aesthetic feel. So the similar to Midjourney really. So it has like the style, the aesthetic. The only difference is that you kind of need to the prompt needs to be heavy, like it's quite prompt hungry, but we kind of have it like we have a system prompt for that. But these are the kind of images that you get from there, like very aesthetic, very cool. Again, like we're trying to simulate similar to Midjourney, and then you use that as a base and then edit it. So that's how we kind of like approach the models. We kind of have them kind of like put them in a way that if you're like a customer or if I'm working on a project, I would always start with my aesthetic based models, then use my editing models.
Oh, okay. I was just about to ask you about that. So I was going to ask about that stack. So Z Image Turbo, you're treating like Midjourney in a sense, base image. We get what we want, but if I want to tweak something, I'm then taking it over to edit model. So maybe that's color, texture, lighting, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I found it has great color. Am I crazy on that, or is that something that you've noticed also?
Yep, great color. It also has great composition. Also understands styling. So if you go a little bit up, there's a model, I think, like styling. When it comes to fashion, it does really well as well. So, and then also their models, they don't look like, you can get diverse, unique looks when it comes to the models as well. But overall, it's just the feel and using that as a base image, we find like does an incredible job. It just kind of makes things feel more elevated.
And that's a lot of the sort of like the ground floor of the projects is using that. Okay, interesting.
Especially
and are you doing like.
Next.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Especially like for cosmetics and anything that requires styling. So cosmetics, fashion, things like that. Z Image Turbo is our go-to.
And are you like, let's just I'm not trying to again get your trade secrets here, but just like someone comes in with a brief. Are you running like similar processes every time where it's like, okay, this is how we produce this is how we deliver this first pass to them, and then like you're building the system around that, or is it kind of like project comes in, we have to build unique system for certain projects, and then we reuse them?
Yeah, we have an agent, so the agent takes the brief. So you upload your brief. So we upload the brief to the agent, and the agent kind of like does the initial fast pass of it. So it understands the brand, what we're trying to achieve, and then it starts to generate the first batch using the aesthetic model. Sometimes it skips the aesthetic model if it's like CPG. But fashion and skincare, it goes through that pipeline, and then it goes through another pipeline of editing. So this will be like adjusting, clothes, maybe getting rid of certain things, artifacts, and then finally it renders it. And that's like
This is what makes me happy.
I like that you divided it too by use case, like maybe the type of thing you're generating too. Maybe it doesn't need a Midjourney or Z Image Turbo. Maybe it's directly to Nano Banana based on that particular thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Where do you separate? I'm curious. Where do you separate that right now? What are some of the things that you're going directly to the edit models for generation? Because obviously it does have a different look, right? A little bit less creative, but when you think about things like text or I don't know, just other, I guess, categories. What are the categories that you would lean immediately into on the edit models?
Very good question. I think it would be things like maybe like CPG. So just like if we're doing a product shot, a simple product shot on a simple scene. But even with the ones that are like lifestyle images, we tend to go through Z Image. We even try to go through Qwen image, which that's another model that we use for certain things, certain areas when it comes to lifestyle shots. And then it goes to the editing. We try to actually have the editing model go last, because the more you edit like an actual image, the more it crushes
Yeah,
it.
degrades.
Yeah.
Yeah, that drives me nuts right now. And then you get too far down, you're just like, you got to go 3 steps back now.
Yeah.
If you, God, that sucks. I hate that.
Yeah.
What about? Tell me more about Qwen. What are you using Qwen for? Is Qwen's also the one, correct? Where, Rory, this is what we were talking about last week with the different camera perspectives. It does really well. Is that primarily what you're using it for? What else are you using Qwen for? What have you found it to be great at?
Yeah, Qwen, honestly, like it's certain things like composition and for certain lifestyle shots. If we don't use it as often. We used it before the image turbo came about, way more. But it would be things like, so there's two ways we used it. So the first way was like, for the image turbo would actually train a LoRa on the pen. It had the quality you can actually train aesthetics. So what we would do is we'd get like images that we like the style of from Midjourney, and then put it into Qwen, do like a style LoRa, and then use that. And that way you don't need to think about the styling or the aesthetic. And it did a really good job with that. And then obviously go to the editing. But right now we don't use it as often, because we're able to achieve quite a lot of it with the image turbo. And then the second way was just for like composition. It is prompt hungry, if we're gonna like try and style the scene. But the nice thing is I can reliably reuse a prompt and actually get exactly what I'm looking for. So that was the other way we used that.
I would love to commend you on your use of LoRa. That's a very smart area. If you're isolating like a whole process of like where a LoRa is going to work probably the best, right? Or like the investment is worth it to do one, that feels like the right way. Because I mean, maybe you have. Have you used a product LoRa in a year? Or is it just like totally useless to me at this point?
At this point, I think like you don't need a product LoRa. I don't think so.
Correct.
I think yeah.
Because you're using it like that's a very like I love that way. Like I haven't thought about the style LoRa in that way for like the ideation standpoint, because that's like a really smart like little injection to the whole process. So like, because I've been sort of like struggling when people ask me about LoRa's, and I'm just like unless it feels like unless it fits the right part of the process, like it doesn't really have. It's too much effort to for sort of like the back end reward on it. And that might just be me, but I've been trying to. I still try to find uses for it. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Actually, so one of the reasons actually we're using style LoRa's quite a lot was for brands who have a specific style, and they have like a very strict specific look that they are trying to accomplish, and if they don't want to use Midjourney, right? So that's the only time that I would actually go ahead and use Comfy and train a LoRa on Qwen and do the whole pipeline. But I would say right now, you'd be surprised there are like brands that still don't want to use Midjourney, and that's the only time that's why we kind of keep Qwen as a model on our platform.
Are the brands that don't want to use Midjourney, curious here, just mostly larger brands, or
Yes, mostly larger, and then also they have issues with the copyright, so
seems like smaller businesses, agencies don't have a problem with it.
No, and then
the legal team.
Anybody with a built-out legal team is not having it.
No, and then the other thing is, of course, like you can't just only use like Chinese models either. So there's also another like barrier.
Right.
So you kind of have to do the LoRa and then adjust things with Nano, and then
Are a lot of your workflows built via like Claude as like the command center via MCP to FAL to sort of execute them, or are you still using Comfy a lot?
We're moving away from Comfy. We used to use a lot of Comfy. Yeah, Comfy it still has its benefits, but right now with Claude, I'm finding less reasons to use Comfy for sure.
Just making it like the central hub to do what you need to do, and you can build the workflows in FAL. I mean, it's like the same thing. It's just probably a little bit more expensive depending on what models you're using and whatever margin they take. But it's interesting because I think a lot of people haven't necessarily. I'm saying this for not for everyone listening here. You guys all know because you listen to this kind of stuff. But like a lot of people haven't figured out like the vector system of Claude as to how it can be utilized like this. Like it doesn't need to be. You don't need to go find individual API keys to pull in these workflows to create them. You can find a place like FAL where it can do it all in one hit, and it can go and search through all this stuff via MCP. And MCP like to the brain, right? It feels like that's sort of like the next evolution of this because I'm curious. I saw one of your posts on X about Fable, and just like it was a sarcastic post, and I was like, someone's feeling the same way. It's just like they're it's so ingrained in the business now. I feel like you probably feel like this too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like you're so invested. Like I would never be invested in like a tech company. Like I don't really care what they do. But now it's like now that it has like direct results on me, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, what is this? When is this coming?
Right.
Is it? Are you finding a bigger difference? Are you finding like with Fable than like Opus 4.8 or like Sonnet things like that? 'Cause
Oh,
it's interesting.
I mean, Fable is just another level, right? Like I think Opus, you're spending a lot of time and wrestling with the model. Whereas when it comes to Fable, it kind of not reads your mind, but it kind of understands the nuances, understands what you're trying to do. And it's more about directing it. And then also like, so I like to use it as like a research or like the first bit and then kind of use, I don't know, Codex to execute on it. But Opus, you know, a task like just for like an example, I did one email template one. I mean, I think I like literally did that in a couple of prompts. It understood what I wanted to the point where it even did the email where it added links to the social media where when you click on it, it actually went to there. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. But when I tried to do it on Opus, I mean, it took me I think, a day and a half. But with Fable, it's like 15 minutes. It's incredible.
Crazy.
It is absolutely amazing. It is quite expensive, but the way I guess the way right now what I'm experimenting with is like loops. So kind of having Fable kind of do the research bit and then kind of like go down the pipeline and give some of the tasks to Codex and then also do the whole looping thing. That's what I'm experimenting with right now, but it's just it's another beast.
Did it write the email in HTML or was it like fully designed in like Figma or something like that?
I think I was in HTML. It designed the whole thing on brand and everything. I think I just kind of gave it like one image of Summer Fridays and then kind of gave it the concept and did the whole thing. I couldn't believe it.
For anyone who's not familiar with email design, it's a very interesting because you're designing like an entire scroll, but it's not. It's like basically all one image with components, right? Like this is, a lot of times what you're doing is you have to design it for the scroll specifically and what you're seeing, and there's a lot of things that go into it naturally, like a website, but it's complex, right? So the fact that it can do this from it,
well, this one
is pretty impressive.
This one was my first attempt, and this was with poor design, and that
I remember this. I remember that this one. I think, this one also smashed. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, because I feel like you did this right after design dropped too, where this was an entirely different use case that people hadn't seen visually yet, and this was like the first time I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
just need the CTA above the fold there. That's it for my email marketing side. That's all I'm gonna say for my email marketing days. But
look at you, still got it, Rory.
I still remember. I still judge everything that I see that comes in my inbox. But it's like this is a great.
She did another one too.
Yeah, there was
just had it.
It's that one. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, this one was fraud mythos. It was. I couldn't believe it. Like it literally just did the whole thing with a few prompts. Even the colors. It's interesting, but this one has like the brand colors, whereas the other one had more Claude colors. So it's remarkable.
And this one was Fable and not through Claude Design.
Yeah, this one's Fable.
Okay. So again, it's just like there's so many uses for things that this is another piece, right? Like again, we're looking at email. Going back to my previous statement, we're looking at, and I say this only from experience, seeing a billion email marketing templates and whatever. It's like everything still looks like email marketing. I'm waiting for someone to sort of push it a little bit. Like, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like when you get real, real dynamic in terms of like the the look and feel of it, because everyone's always gone by sort of like the same sort of templates, flow, structure. Like nothing ever changes. It's sort of, you see a unique one here and there,
Yeah.
but it's always like the same visual template, not the same content.
Mm.
Not the same visual template, but there's like, probably 40 or 50 sort of ways to stack an email that'll convert. But it was a great use case. I would also, little applaud on that one. Great, just
Thanks.
finding holes. Because the other thing that I wanted to ask about, I'm hitting systems, I'm hitting all this stuff. Content, like, do you feel differently scrolling your feed now and like what you post, because it feels like everything, like everyone is just spamming AI? Like, do you feel like I can want to post this, but like whatever? It's like it doesn't feel special anymore like it used to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like right now, like as you said, a lot of AI. I mean, some of them are good use cases, but then there's just a sheer volume of AI
Yeah.
content. And honestly, like it's really hard to come up with like new ideas and stress test things that hasn't already been done before. But yeah, I mean, that is definitely, I guess, like a disadvantage when it comes to AI. I mean, it's good and bad because, it opens barriers, anyone can do it. But it's also like, I think for creators who normally like, I like to kind of be a bit intentional and think about what I want to post. I do find like sometimes, should I just post for the sake of it, or should I actually invest time? Yeah.
It's
How
tough.
you,
Drew,
it is tough. Yeah. How are you guys finding it?
do you want a real answer? Like,
Yeah.
I probably scrap 90% of the stuff that I'm doing because I'm just like, is this compelling or interesting? Does anyone care? Like, or am I just posting to post? Like, I think there's I've gone back to sort of, I had like a 2 month run where I wasn't posting much because I was just so buried and I had no ideas and I was just like, whatever. And now I'm back into it thinking, I'm like, do I just go with the volume route and just see what picks up again? Or do I like drill in on something that's a little bit more technical and like try to really stir the pot a little bit? But I've been having a hard time. I'm the first one to say it. I see so much.
I think
good
it's
stuff,
just
too.
hard. It's just hard to get motivated to post now too. Like it's probably because we're all busy, number one, and I think like too, we all know this, but it's the best content is usually educational, right? And the truth is, the educational content takes longer to create. Even with AI, it's less time than it was, but I mean, you still have to be very thoughtful about it, right? I mean, could require you recording your screen and then clipping things and then providing, the step by step and doing this and doing that. And it's just like, do I have, realistically a couple hours to do that? And is that what I want to do with those 2 hours? And I think that's ultimately, in a lot of ways, what it comes down to for me, versus just like, I think the other thing is, I want to also share things that don't feel like there's a high effort involved, but still give insight into me or what I'm doing. And maybe I know that that's not the best format for that to pop off, but I still want, like, there's still value in sharing it just from the context of, oh, Drew's doing this, or this is the kind of stuff he's leaning into. And so, yeah, it's an interesting trade-off. I mean, Rory and I both too, we used to do these LinkedIn carousels that, I mean, every single one of them would crush. They'd crush every time. So you knew, even though you're putting in the time, it would do well. But it's just it's a beast. I haven't done one of those in 6
Bring 'em
months to
back.
a year.
Now we have Claude design.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Exactly. Bring it back.
I mean, it's so much easier than doing in whatever we were doing. You were doing in Keynote. I was doing in Canva and Figma most of the time, but now there's MCPs there too.
Don't sleep on Keynote, baby. Don't sleep.
I still don't know how you did it in Keynote.
No.
It's a very unique process. But the other thing I've noticed with like the stuff on social now too is it's just like there's like a couple buckets, right? There, it feels like there's, especially on X, there's like slop for slop's sake, right? Like it feels like everyone has taken slop and then like embraced it and like how great it piles on, and that's just like that's like everyone trolling and having fun. Then there's like the people that are doing still like the technical educational stuff, and then it feels like the other side of it is just like, let me just create and throw it out there and see if anyone likes it. I don't care. I want to be in that bottom bucket, but but at the same time, like
It,
it never hits for me whenever
yeah,
I do that.
it's hard because I have been doing that as well, and it just doesn't hit. I mean, I've seen your
Yeah,
stuff, Rory. Like your stuff is amazing. Like it's all technical. The tutorials, every time you post, I definitely check it out. But as you said, like it just takes so long.
it
Um,
does.
it just takes, yeah. I mean, it just content creation takes a while. But also like I saw your one, Drew, yesterday. Is it yesterday or the day before? Like the Midjourney. Those were really good. The images that you
Oh,
posted.
just the stills. Yeah. I mean, like, stuff like that, even, right?
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't necessarily take me a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How valuable is it to other people? Probably not that valuable, but I guess maybe it does shine some light into my taste that, what's capable with the tool, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's limited, but again, it didn't take me a lot of time to do it. And, we're all generating so many goddamn images that no one sees. I mean, that's always been the biggest problem is like, I wish I could actually just license out my Midjourney archive.
Honestly, that is a good idea.
Just give me 6 figures for it and I'll walk away. I'll literally walk away. I mean, I've got so many good images in there that are like even stuff I've generated where I'm like, that's not really my taste, but I know for sure this feels great in another space or for somebody else. And I just, it's an interesting thing because there's so much value that's trapped in that archive.
Yeah.
And that's another, again, going back to just like posting these stills. It's like, it's probably not the sexiest thing, right? It's not the best format. It's not usually not going to pop off. But I do think it's important still to share because we are creating so many different things creatively. Who's going to see that if I don't post it?
Yeah.
Like literally it's just going to collect dust and it's good. So why not,
You might not even see it.
I'm so curious. Do you guys create for yourselves or for the audience?
Always myself.
Me.
Yeah, same.
100%.
Same.
Okay. It's too hard to try to create for someone else. I don't know what they want. Like
That's a good question though. I do think people definitely there are people that create just for the audience. 100%. I am almost into that Rick Rubin belief where it's just like you create whatever the hell you want and the people that like it are going to be sort of like your biggest followers or fans. Like there's leverage there and just being true to yourself, the things that you like, and I think that's what makes us unique too. I mean, I try not to even think about the audience thing.
I will say I definitely breadcrumb though. That's 100%. Like I'll do a workflow where it's something ridiculous that has nothing to do with the actual workflow. But like the idea is I want someone to see the workflow and that it fits their need for something. But make the content absurd.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
that is your thing. That's a Rory Flynn thing.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a really good shot.
Like here's the like the stuff I did with BarkBox where it was like, oh, here's I'm doing a 2D vector to 3D design with Cartman as a plush doll. It's like it's Cartman, but the idea is like this is for plush toys. So it's like it would make it a little make it social, but like also there's a purpose to this because it's like how can you make like systems? It's so boring. Like when you not maybe AI, but like operations systems like that. Unless you're super technical, you're like, what is this nerd talking about? But like you gotta like spice it up a little bit. No one wants to hear me talk about system prompts for an hour. It's like the most boring thing of all time. Cool.
Yeah, but you're
the
good.
result's cool.
That's your thing though. You're really one of the best at that. Hey, Salma, I'm curious about this. Not to put you on the spot. Curious if any hot takes you got. What are you like? Is there something you're thinking about that you feel like most people would not agree with or haven't thought about or would push back on that you believe to be true? Maybe not objectively, but like in your mind, you align closer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the whole taste discourse is interesting to me. So I guess my hot take is like, I don't think technical people have any taste whatsoever, like software engineers or like any, like, it's just, I mean, I'm sorry, but like they just don't have taste. I think the people who come with that taste is people who like, like you guys have been experimenting, been creative for a while. Because I do feel like you can build that muscle, but it takes time, right? And I just see what I see right now is like I said, like software engineers talking about taste. And I'm like, you're better off getting a stylist who's never used AI. I think they would actually have better taste if they just figured out how to use AI, right? So that's my hot take. Like, I think if you're a company who's trying to push just like, oh, we're trying to make a model that has taste or whatever it is, then probably best to work with the stylist who has never used AI. So
Are you referring to that one company who's claimed to have manufactured taste?
yes.
That one annoyed the hell out of me too. Like
Yeah.
it's like I started like scrutinizing things that I shouldn't be scrutinizing. I was looking at like their team photo, and I'm like, who took this? Like it's in the worst
Right.
position ever. It's in the corner of the room. Like everyone's in one color and one other person's in the wrong. Like who let this? This is like untasteful. this entire photo.
Wait,
I wanted to be like a little.
Who are we
mean girl.
talking about? Who are we talking about here?
Rory, you need
Give me
to
the
name
first
it.
letter.
Let's see. I have to see who.
Give me the first letter.
Is it called taste.com? Taste.
I think it's like taste something. Yeah, it was viral like
Oh,
or something
okay.
or the week before. But
Oh god.
yeah, it's interesting because like the stylists and the traditional people are like I don't know if they get on with the labs, but for some odd reason, they don't want to work in AI. But those are the guys who these labs want to bring on. Like that, those are the type of people.
Is it Taste Labs? That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, manufacturing taste, and I'm looking at all the things from their page, and I'm just like, this doesn't scream taste. To
No.
me. Nothing really.
Even like
Taste Labs.
Yeah.
There was.
I guess I'm in the. I didn't see anything from them, so.
There was one post that went super viral, and then it like created a discourse around taste, and if it can be automated.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I really just when it's things like this, like when you want to rebel, it's like the rebellion inside of me comes out. It's like when someone claims that they can do this, I'm like, I don't want you to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like I don't care if you can. I don't want you to. And if you say you have and it works, then I don't want to use it. It's just
That's
like
what you're talking. Is this what
Yeah.
you're
like
talking
an
about?
ick feel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like with taste is evolving, like it's not something that's going to just stay the same. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of, that whole discourse is kind of like a little bit slightly irritating.
Different types of taste. We talked about that last week too, Rory. Remember, we were just talking about like,
Yes.
look, there's stylistic taste, there's conceptual taste, there's cultural taste.
Mhm.
There, you brought up the great point last week with timing and its association to taste.
Mhm.
Like, taste is kind of being bucketed and blanketed into this one thing that it's a deep variable thing. I mean, I don't think, and I think it's right. It's clickbaity. It's sexy to kind of throw taste into this, to generalize it when it's not. I mean, there are just so many different layers to it. No, I hadn't heard of this. This is interesting.
Well, now you know, and now you won't not see it when you scroll by.
Salma, I have one more question for you. Where do you get your inspiration? And what I mean by that is, either for new ideas, concepts, or things that you're going to try to test. I mean, I would imagine if you're like us, X is a big part of that, just because you've got this pool or ecosystem that is so curated in the space, right? So it feels like a very organic and daily way to feel like you're a part of the social fabric of these conversations. And so there's that. But I mean, like, maybe unexpected places or something that maybe people aren't thinking about. Like, I think Pinterest is like another obvious one that people probably go to get inspiration for. But like, is there anything else that you rely on or you found has been really useful for you?
Travel, like traveling to small niche places. I went to Montenegro recently, a town called Kota. There's a little town.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Oh my goodness, it's like there is a mountain, and inside the mountain there's like a whole town. It's actually remarkable. So I like to kind of like find very like unique like towns to visit, and I find myself like seeing things that I wouldn't otherwise see. So I try to expose myself to different cultures, and I try not to look at the obvious places, very niche areas. And the other place as well was the other place that I went to as well as like south of France, but not south of France where like there's these little tiny islands in south of France that no one has like ever heard of. And again, like there was a town, I think only like 40 people live there. And there's also another one in Vigo, Spain, like a small town. And then, I like to go to these types of places to just kind of like expose myself to different cultures, see how they think of design, how they think of like, what do their photo shoots look like. And I find myself coming up with the best ideas when I do that. And then the other things is like I try to kind of like, go on social media, but I feel like I try to find niche, very niche, like accounts on Instagram and on YouTube. And then I just save them and I just like binge watch, and it will be like adjacent. It won't be things related to necessarily design. It will be like maybe food or things completely different, and then try to like mix the ideas together.
Love that. Great answer.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to look up this town in Montenegro.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
You haven't heard of this? I've been hearing about Kodor. Like,
yeah,
I missed that one somehow.
Like, I'm getting peppered with that on Instagram, and it looks so cool. And Roy, I think it's like, it's definitely like on the cheaper end compared to bigger places for the beauty, and it's probably less of a touristy attraction at this point too. It looks super dope.
Up my alley.
Yeah,
that sounds wonderful.
They have these little islands where there's just a church, like. It's crazy. Like a tiny island, and there's just like literally just a church. And
it sounds like the Greek islands. There's like all those little churches on those little islands everywhere.
So Salma, another question. This is the last one for me. This has nothing to do with AI or anything. Do you have a favorite 90s or 2000s movie or television show?
That is a good one. 90s.
I know where you're going with this, Roy.
Yeah, this. Speaking of inspiration, I need some for this thumbnail.
That's right.
There are a bunch, like, the one, honestly, it would be like the old. I know this might sound so niche and crazy, but like it's the old Jackie Chan movies.
Yes. Awesome answer.
Really? I was not. That was. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting there. I was not expecting that.
Okay. I mean, I love.
Awesome.
Those are really good. Like the fashion styling on those are remarkable. Just
the Bronx. Fun stuff. Oh my god. That's a great answer, and I'm so happy.
You got a favorite Jackie Chan movie?
There is one. It was one of the old ones. I think it was in the 80s. I can't remember the name though. Let me see if I can find out. But it's one of his first debuts.
Wasn't there some weird? There's some weird background to it, Jackie Chan, isn't there? I like read something a long time. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like I think it's connected to his wife or his father-in-law or maybe his parents. There's some really interesting connection there.
So it's called The Big Brawl. That's the 80s one.
Which one is it? The
Big Brawl.
I'm looking up his filmography right now because I'm like, you forget how many things he was actually in.
Yeah, and it's so random, right? And then of course,
he had a run. He had a run though.
Yes, and then the other one is like Christopher Nolan movies, like Dark Knight, and just the additional ones. Yeah,
that also provides great content. That's just so you know, Drew and I somehow end up talking about something 90s or 2000s somehow. And then it somehow makes its way to the thumbnail. So this time, I feel like we're gonna have to let our guests drive the conversation in that direction now, so that we can always have some material for our thumbnails, which is probably the thing I spend the most time on each week, like design wise, like thinking about it and crafting it. And who even knows if anyone likes them? I don't know. I just like to do it. So
love it.
That's the fun stuff. But are you Googling? Are we getting? Are we gonna get served or what's it called? Are we gonna get dinged here for doing conspiracy theories on Jackie Chan?
No, it's not. It's not a conspiracy theory.
All right, good.
Yeah. So his identity emerged from espionage, organized crime, smuggling, war, aliases, and a family separated across decades. Yeah, I don't want to spend time poking through this, but there's some interesting stuff like with his parents and being separated, and then I think one of his parents was like a spy.
Oh wow!
Like some crazy
sick.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
I like this now.
Wait, I do remember. It's to do with Hong Kong because they're from.
Okay. Yeah.
Cantonese. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is cool. Now you sent me down a rabbit hole. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you gotta look into this. And it's cooler than whatever I got just now. I just remember reading about that somewhat recently. That was a crazy story.
Well, I think that's I have
wrap
to
her up.
I have, yeah, I think because I gotta run, but that was Salma. First off, number one, thank you for being a sort of like a trailblazer in a lot of senses here, especially on X and like doing stuff that a lot of people weren't doing, and like thinking about it in a way that was like really technical and smart and professional, like from a processing and everything standpoint early on, not just now, like super early, and like telling people about that because that was, there wasn't a lot of people back then.
She's been consistent. You've been a constant force with posting. Keep it up. I mean, you always have good value, and whether it's viral or not, I know it's got really good, interesting nuggets in there too. And I think, keep doing your thing because everything you're doing is great. And we didn't even get into the brand work and the brands that you've worked with, but you've worked with some incredible brands as well. You worked on a Super Bowl ad. I mean, you've done some really cool stuff. So congratulations. I'm glad that those things are paying off for you, and keep grinding.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for inviting me to this incredible podcast. And I know we've been trying to get this organized for a while, so appreciate it. And this has been great.
Well, it's legends only, so that's the
amazing
the qualifications to get on here. And typically what we do at the end here is, if anyone is still listening, if you're listening, you sat through this whole thing, and you haven't either done one thing, liked, hit a subscribe button, leave a comment. If you haven't done any of that, you got to go tell somebody. So that's the rules. You got to tell someone random. So it's got to be maybe like a parking meter attendant, something like that. That's a new one, Drew. I think I got that one.
That's a good one.
I think that's a new one.
Are there still parking meter attendants?
Oh yeah, New York.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ticket Central, right there.
Okay.
Another one might be your local World Cup fan. I don't know if anyone has, if there's anyone in the area, if you have travelers, visitors, things from around the U.S., whatever. That would be a good one. Do you have any fun ones? We've really like I feel like I'm tapping.
We try to go into all the
here.
niche spaces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's you're trying to think about things that
we did dental hygienists last week.
Dental hygienist last week. We're really hitting the bottom. Maybe I got my passport redone, so you'd be maybe your local State Department agent. That would be
there. You go.
Or
there you go.
Local DMV.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. There you go.
Now we're original.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll be back next week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.
See ya.